Favor. This is one more, please. How are you today, Jonathan?
We're going now?
Yeah.
Awesome.
3, 2, 1, let's go.
I'm well. Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Man, I thank you for coming. I know you're a busy dude. You're gonna go on tour soon. But the fact that you're here, it's great. I didn't know about your craft until the beginning of this year. Over at the Elysium.
Okay, yeah.
You had that show, and ever since then, I was like, dude, I want to have him on the podcast. Then I started doing more, like listening to your music and hearing more about your story. So before anything, welcome to Otra Por Favor. We are now over the 100th episode, and we're on episode 101. Heck yeah, we made it. I would say this is an episode that that when the year started, I was like, I gotta have it. It's on my list. And thank you for coming. As you guys know, the podcast is about football, vida, and cultura. We want to highlight stories that have to do with what's going on in Austin. Sometimes I love to talk about football, but I also want to talk about the people that create the culture here in Austin. And in today's episode, I have the honor to host Jonathan. Let me get your last name right. Horstmann.
Yeah, good job.
Thank you. I'm known for butchering last name. And he is the vocalist of Urban Heat.
Yep.
Jonathan, thank you for being here once again. I am amazed about your work and your music. I listen to your songs, almost every other day.
Awesome.
There's just things that I like about it, and then there's just I'm a type of person that when I listen to a song, I can listen to it over and over and over.
Same.
And I feel like your songs, they're gonna be on that playlist for a while.
Oh, word.
But Jonathan, before we anything, I want to say thanks to everyone that takes a chance to listen to our episodes in every platform, whether it's Spotify, YouTube, Golz TV, or Apple Podcast. I appreciate everyone that takes the opportunity to listen to it and enjoy the conversations that we have here. The goal here is for you guys to be entertained, but also entertained with some knowledge behind it from the people that create great stuff. And I want to go into your life story. Before we go into your music and Urban Heat, I want to, the audience to know a little bit more about Jonathan. Where are you originally from, and when did you move to Austin?
Okay, yeah. I think it was like 16 or 17 years ago when I first moved here. I grew up. I graduated high school just north of Santa Barbara in California. It's this little place called Lompoc. So there's an Air Force base and a prison there, and then like nothing else. And so I graduated high school from there. I moved to San Diego for a little bit. I ended up in Santa Barbara playing music with friends, and moved to Seattle for a little bit. Ended up back in Santa Barbara. Long story short, some friends had gotten off of tour, and we were looking for the musicians I was with at that time. We were looking for a bigger city. Mm-hmm. And for whatever reason, we didn't want to go to LA. We wanted to go somewhere else where there was more music. And some friends got off tour, and they were like, Austin, Texas is the spot. This is where you need to go. So we just packed up the bands, animals, girlfriends, the whole thing. We all, like 2 bands, just packed up and all moved out here about 16, 17 years ago.
That was the first time I was in Austin. It was 2010, and there was that noise of Austin is the place to go now.
Oh yeah.
It took a while for me to like about 5 years to finally make the decision. It's because my wife she's from here, so I was like, hey, I'll move here because of you, baby.
I got here. Okay, so I drove I think it was like a '92 Ford Escort. with no air conditioning. And
Okay.
I didn't know that I needed air conditioning when I moved to Texas. And like, I'm stuck on like we didn't have access roads, right? So like that was a whole new thing to me. And so I just found myself getting turned around, always like stuck in traffic. And we moved during the summer and I didn't have air conditioning. I was so miserable when I first moved here. I was just like, I did not understand why I had done this and didn't know where the music was, didn't know where the cool spots were. I just knew like absolutely nothing. And it wasn't until I went to Beauty Bar when it was on 7th Street and met the singer from Scorpion Child. He was bartending there at the time, and he was just so welcoming and kind. Like when I let him know I was in a band, he wasn't like, "Oh, you just moved here in a band," like yada yada. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was just like, "Hey, man, like here's a scene, like here's the thing." Like it was that experience really sort of like was the first time that I think I thought like, okay, I can stick this out. Because I mean, Texas is it's a lovely place, but it's a hard place. It can be hard, you know? And I think that's what makes Texans so interesting and kind of special is that we live here. And I'm saying we because it's been 17 years.
You've been here,
like,
yeah. You've earned it. You've earned it. Yeah.
So yeah, it's an interesting spot, but 17 years.
17 years. And out of those 17 years, when you first moved here, besides the heat, did you ever feel like this is not whatever I expected? Or is it like, oh, wow, it's actually better than I expected?
Well, I mean, I moved here right when I was 21 as well. And so I think that there's a lot of like growing that you do as a person too, regardless of like where you're at. So I think I was probably I was kind of like, life is not what I expected it to be, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I fell in with a good group of people who, just like artists and kind of punk kids. And we kind of made our way, kind of just living by our own rules, you know, making life interesting.
Is that like punk? Is that what it's about? I want to know more about it because I've heard the term and I've heard a little bit about it, but I want is it what is it like? Say for example, you do your own thing or what's
yeah?
punk
Okay,
about?
so that's a really good question. So punk, at least the way that I experienced it, how I grew up. Once I discovered punk as a music, there's sort of this like FU attitude about it. It's very DIY kind of, you know, like I'm going to make something happen regardless of like if anybody tells me that I can or can't. It was a lot of just kind of about self-sufficiency. I was raised in a really religious household where there were a lot of things that I couldn't do. And I went to a really religious school and I didn't have a lot of friends. And once I discovered punk, there was a community that I kind of plugged into that was very accepting and I can't really speak for, you know, the scene of punk now because like I've just been out of it for so long. But when I was younger, that's what it was about. It was about, you know, acceptance and kind of a DIY approach to things and kind of like, you know, stick it to the man.
You know, I kind of have a similar, you know, way. I grew up Christian and the churches, they were Pentecostal. So the last church I was at for a while, you couldn't go to the movies. Things have changed now that, you know, the kids of the person in charge, they're getting older and they want to experience more in life. But it was very rigid, very, very, you can't do this, you can't do that. Even if you want to go to help out another church, you have to ask for permission. I'm like, we're going to go help out another church.
Right.
But then over time, I started understanding like, hey, this is not really me, bro. Like this is, you know, they're doing great. Whatever they have going on here is great, but it's Galveston. It's a small place. I'm from Mexico City and I lived in California before that. After that. So I'm used to, you know, going up and down places.
Yeah.
So going into like say your childhood growing up, a Christian home where there was you would say it was a conservative? Was it a
Very conservative.
Yeah.
They're like fundamental Baptists. So it was very, very conservative and very strict. I think I didn't realize just how, and I don't, I want to be careful to not say that everyone who's raised in a religious household has the same experience as mine. You know what I mean? But mine, it wasn't until recently that I really realized just how detrimental raising a child in that specific way was for me, you know, especially with the way my mind works with like my ADHD and things like that, like kind of always being, you know, not being able to sort of fall in line, you know, when you're raised in a very strict sort of way, but you don't have a mind that works in a very strict way.
It's hard.
Yeah, you're kind of just always at odds with authority. And I wasn't trying to be a bad kid, but I was just kind of painted that way, you know. I was just like scared and just wanted to be loved.
And then say, when did you feel like you found love and, you know, you were able to not feel scared, or at least sort of, you know, understand like, okay, I feel like I'm not scared of expressing who I am?
Honestly, maybe not until this band.
No,
like
see,
okay.
No. That's
like there are always steps of like more accepting yourself more, and like I think that there were a lot of steps of growth. But I think recently I have come to be able to accept myself in such greater ways than I had, you know, before. I think even leaving the house, and when I moved to Texas, I had substance abuse issues, and so like I was never really addressing my own shit. You know, I was always self-medicating or always running away from something, never really addressing the issues. And so I've been sober for 5 years now, and so started on that journey. And then my children were born, like right before I got sober. I had my first daughter. And so she was a very big part of, she's kind of why I got sober, and also like a big part of this journey of like self-discovery and really reevaluating, you know, who I am and how I will move through the world and how I want to leave it. I think I've always wanted to make a really big impression on the world, and a good impression, leave it better than I came into it. But never really having the vision of how I actually do that. You know, it's one thing to wake up and say, you know, I want to make the world a better place, but then to actually do something about it
is different.
Yeah, figure out how to use your gifts, your talents to actually do that. You know, is a whole different thing.
The reason why, like, you know, it's very interesting for me, because I feel as I, you know, did my own thing and try to become as independent as possible. Somehow that helped me express who I am as a person. I'm I'm a type of person that I like to joke around a lot. I can, with my friends, we throw memes at each other every day. Just stuff like that. But it's stuff that it's not conventional for someone that is, you know, going, you know, like always going to church. Because, you know, I like you know, like in Spanish es el color, you know, like I like the, you know, like the heat. I like the, you know, shooting the shit and giving shit to someone, and I'm getting I'm getting it back. Even when I play soccer, I'm the same way. I love to talk shit.
Exact shit.
Yeah. And one thing that I started understanding was like coming like here, and I think even like my parents, I didn't drink in front of them, and I've never really had problems with things, but I always had problems with expressing who I really want to be. So it was always looking out for someone's approval of what can I say, what I couldn't say. And until I realized, like, you know what, like that person is not paying my bill. I'm doing my thing. And I started, you know, it's not like caring less about what people said, but it's just more like just caring more about who I really want to be. That kind of helped out. Yeah. Because I similar to you, at this moment, I feel like I'm, you know, that's I feel more able to do things, and I feel even. I mean, I've been accepted however I am in life, but it's just now I can embrace the person I am with my faults and with my my virtues, everything. It's just one of those that you have. It feels good,
It's really
I'm
beautiful.
pretty sure,
Yeah.
like with you and Urban Heat, you sort of feel the same way.
Yeah. Well, and you start attracting similar things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think growing up, I think maybe there's like a shift that happens where we are looking for other people's approval, and we are trying to, and especially as a musician, man, I mean, as an artist, any creative, like,
Yeah.
you're like, well, is my stuff even worth anything if other people aren't approving it, right? And so maybe you try to craft it in a way that you try to make what you think people want, and like, that's never going to, like, you could do well with that, but like, that's never going to be as fulfilling, and I don't think it's ever going to connect with people as much as when you actually are truly being yourself and making something like from your heart, from the right place. That attracts the right people, the right things. Like, the message gets to whoever it's supposed to get to.
Yeah.
And it's just it's if you're making it from a place of your like self-expression, like you really being you rather than like trying to be entertaining or trying to be this or that, then there's there's a truth to it. It can be greater than you, because it can like help other people to like be themselves. Even if you're not saying like be yourself through like your lyrics or something, right? It's just like, by just doing that, by creating from that place, it's like, the energy is just there, and it just connects that way. At least I hope. That's what I think.
Nah, so you're going to how you want to be a better person to do things better. We all live in a society that's already messed up as is. So much division, but creating things that people feel like they somehow resemble themselves, or even know that, like, like I'm not a I don't really like this type of music, but that lyric is there. It's there, and it's subconsciously because it's coming from within. It's coming from experiences. That's where I feel like the relevancy comes to creating a better place. I think when you have those, and it's also good intentions. Like when you have good intentions, when you do something, something's good to come out of it.
Absolutely.
It could also be where you're doing something really dumb, and like, I don't know, like a song could be about something negative, but it's about like your stuff. It's more about self, like within, like reflection, mental health, and then dealing with your own self, asking yourself questions, and it's good. The reason why I'm saying it is because I listened to this podcast from this guy, Diego Rosarin. He talks a lot about questioning yourself, who you are. And then a lot of the times I grew up with, don't question who you are. Just be, like, don't question it. Just follow it. But I'm like, no, you have to question it, because when you question things, you're going to get more out of that.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, when, getting into music, when was the first time you picked up an instrument, and how was that process for you to this day?
Well, when I was 5, I had to take piano lessons, which I hated when I was younger, but I'm so thankful that I had to, because that gave me like a foundation. I think that was the first time I made sound with something. My dad had a harp. I remember there was a harp in the living room. I never learned how to play it, but I always loved making sounds with it. I played violin for a little bit, 8th grade or something. Like for a couple of years, I had to take violin lessons, and trombone. Kind of jumped around a bit until I found guitar. Did percussion in school, like orchestra. I still love playing drums, but yeah, I think piano was the first kind of thing that I played with, and I think I started my first band when I was 15 or 16. with me playing guitar and singing. Kind of that was a trend that continued.
Yeah. What was your musical instruments back then?
What was it?
Yeah, or who was it?
Oh, my musical influences?
Yeah.
There was there's this band Total Chaos, which was just, it was like thrash punk. I don't know if I'm describing it the right way, but them and like Against All Authority. So like some of these screaming punk bands that like I found, that was like what I thought I should, that was the music that inspired me, or at least that I found my community in. And so that was the music that I wanted to make. But the first time that I heard something melodic that really like made me want to write songs was Deftones, when I first heard My Own Summer. Okay. Yeah.
And from there to now, like any new influences do you have at the moment, or has it just been, sort of about the same?
Influences at the moment musically. Well, so when I'm trying to write, I don't listen to a lot of music because I'm trying to hear like what's going on in my head, rather than it being than just rehashing other things that I'm hearing. However, it's kind of impossible because you're always, we've been listening to music our entire lives. Yeah. So everything that I think I'm hearing in my head, I heard somewhere, and I'm remixing and doing something to it. At the gym, I listen to a lot of hip hop, a lot of Wu-Tang, Cypress Hill lately. I've been really bad about just like picking and choosing one or two songs from an artist, because I haven't listened to an album all the way through in a while, because I'm looking for like a certain feeling and I want to stay in that feeling, and albums tend to like go to like, you know what I mean? And I'm like, no, I just want another banger. That's a good question. Who's been influencing me lately?
Have you heard of Peso Pluma?
No,
dude.
I'll check it out.
Earlier we were talking with the guests that we had in the previously. We were talking about how regional mexicano, it's popular now, but it's all because it was actually grown like within small towns in Mexico, and it had like a 3-person band that would just go around playing and singing, and then the I would say the life experiences that they faced, with everything that's going on with the drug cartels, and how, that's given, like they listen to someone who listens to corridos, which basically songs about cartels, to now you have younger kids that, lived around that, but create something out of that, create music out of that. So you have 16-year-old kids that are, killing it in a bass, in a cello, in a guitar, and even not even needing a percussions or needing drums, because their percussion is the bass or cello.
Right.
So it's one of those that
will you send me some links?
For sure. I got you. But it's pretty interesting how everything changed. And maybe it's been there for a while, but now we're just all catching to it because it's something that's popular or whatnot. Yeah. But that was the reason why I was asking, is like how things change. Because for me, I've always had very like my go-to artist, but then every once in a while someone catches my attention, and I like listen to it, and I like understanding why they play that way. One band that I didn't listen to in the past, and I started listening to them maybe 5 years ago, was Molotov. Very, very punk rock, and they talk a lot about what's wrong in Mexico, like what's wrong in the government, what's wrong in the decisions, even the relationship with the U.S. But they talk about it like at the end of the day, like it's up to you, and you have to uplift yourself. But I find myself listening to more music that has some sort of a representation of who I am as a person. So that's what I'm like. That's maybe like, I think that's where I'm like, there's this Peso Pluma has a song. They just talk about like the first lyric is like, Saben que te batallé, lo saben dos o tres. Which is, I struggled, but people know that I struggled, but I made it. I'm here. Like I'm doing this. Um, and later on, he talks about like being bougie and whatnot. But it's just that the first lyric, "Saben que le batallé." You guys know that I struggled. It's like, damn, that hits hard. Like that's deep. But it's and like going into your music. Where like the lyrics, "Song in my head," and gun in your head.
Gun in your hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is that was released during the pandemic or
It was. Yeah. I wrote that. I think I wrote that before the pandemic, maybe 2019.
Okay.
2018, 2019. Unfortunately, I forget what the last shooting was because there were just so many. There still are so many.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I kind of just, that was one where, it's the way that I write is I had this, we had this beat and I had this bass line that I really loved over it. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know anything else about the song. I had no idea what else was happening, but I just had that, with that gun in your hand. I always had that part. And I remember going to the band, like I was just starting to like bring in other people to play with, and I was like, hey, so there's a song. And I remember everybody worrying that line, like, I can't sing about guns, Yeah. And I tried so many different lyrics, so many different things. I was like, okay. And they just like nothing worked. It was like, no, the song has to be that gun in your hand. Yeah. And then the rest of it sort of was thinking about the ways in which, we when somebody signs up for the military, it's sort of like this like rite of passage, like, well, here you go, here's your gun to go like prove yourself, you know, and yeah, it just kind of all kind of fell out from there. It's sometimes, it's that one lyric will just sort of inform the rest of the song, like where it's going and everything.
How would, like, say, for example, sometimes the audience or your audience, what is like any sort of meaning they had from a song, like especially that song that had talks about a gun in your hand. What do you have you heard any like what, this is how I felt about it, this is what I was going through in my mind, and every symbol with this it's like inside, like
like, have I gotten
like any
yeah, actually, it was either yesterday or today. Somebody had commented on YouTube that something really tragic had happened down the street from them, like in their neighborhood, and that they had been thinking about that song a lot, without going into much detail about what had happened. And it just kind of, broke my heart. I commented back something like, I'm so sorry, and please take care of yourself. But yeah, that song is it's unfortunately still relevant, and it comments from connecting with fans in a way that's more than just like, like, oh, your music's so great, like whatever, like those comments are fantastic. But when somebody lets you know that your music is either with them during a difficult time or is getting them through a difficult time or has made an impression in some way, that's what this is all about. It really, that is more concrete than any sort of streaming numbers or any accolade, anything, you know what I mean? It's like, just connecting with a person, knowing that you were part of, you have been able to provide something to another human being that you don't know, and you were able to your work, you made something that did something beyond just being made. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah. It sort of like gave it influence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's everything.
As an artist, it's like, I mean, it's not saying like, oh, we made it, but it's like, oh, like, sort of, that's what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. That's what you want your work to do. It's strange that our work tends to, the messages that we've got tend to be, maybe it's the nature of the energy that we're putting out there with, the nature of the songs, but they tend to be, folks going through hard times, nobody has ever sent me a message saying like, I was having the best day yesterday and I jammed out to your stuff and thanks. Like, and I'm sure that's happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like, but when people reach out, it's because like there was like it's because an impact was made. And if that's our role, then I take that and I accept it and I take it seriously. And maybe that's our role for now. And maybe, we'll end up doing a party record at some point, that still has value in some way.
Because it's like, it's entertainment, but then the message behind it is quite powerful. And it has a lot of meaning behind it, and it's a lot of good influence. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like, I don't know, maybe that person, was about to do like something about, or, having a bad day, and really, a bad day can go many different routes, especially when you're dealing with mental health. Hearing something to help you uplift or have an influence you positively, that's a huge thing. And I think that's something I want to commend you for, because it's, how you talking about, like, it represents, the moment you're free, or with Urban Heat. And it's great to hear that, it's great that, because not a lot of the times music is about that. It's sometimes about partying, and that's great, but it's also about, touching some pretty tough subjects, and those need to be touched. And as a fan of yours, man, thank you. There's times that I listen to it, like I feel pumped by, getting before doing my push-ups, or even when I'm having a tough day, I'm listening to one of your songs. I'm like, damn, dude, all right, I feel good. Let's get back to this transactions really quick.
Oh, hell yeah. Awesome.
I want to talk more about synthesizers and vibrations. That those have to do a lot with your music. How did that started to sort of become part of it, or is it something that you added as you went?
Yeah, I think so. Synths kind of came into my life, sort of. Well, I went to Haiti to get sober, to get clean one of the first times. And it worked. I mean, I didn't use heroin again after that, but I kept drinking and everything. But while I was in Haiti on this reforestation project, and while I was there, I started meditating and was reading a book on meditation and vibration, and there was something when I got back to the States, something like really similar. I would just be able to hit a note on a synth, it just drones out like forever. I just feel like I can like meditate with the synthesizer, I even actually did a series of, how there's different frequencies where, people will like ohm at, or like different like singing bowls, right, will be tuned at different frequencies to do different things. Like there's a certain frequency for like each of your chakras, and so a woman actually, when we first started, was starting the band, she actually, a thing I did with her was making a synth soundscape at each of these frequencies. I think I did one for each chakra, and then like another, like a bonus one. Yeah. And I think they went for like 12 minutes each. They're just like these synth meditations. I really need to find them and like chill with them and listen to them again.
There you go.
But yeah, I think that was sort of the foundation for like really falling in love with that aspect of synths sort of gave the foundation for like what became Urban Heat. I think I started doing some solo stuff, and I found this this artist. I forget his name. He's not very well known. He's in Europe, and can't remember which Scandinavian country he's in. But I found his stuff on Spotify, and I'm gonna send you a link to it because I need to find him again, because he deserves the credit where it's due. But the ways in which he would create these, it was just all instrumental, and I don't think he even used drum machines. It was just a couple of synthesizers together, and you could just create these such emotion, could be made just with these instruments. And I mean that's all instruments, it just depends on who's playing them, but there's something about the electronic aspect of it, the imperfectness of the like analog, that just I was just really inspired by it and just wanted to make really emotive music with synthesizers. I realized that I also really like beats that slap. So I needed to take really awesome beats and put it with like really emotive synths. And now I'm just like having fun with it.
Yeah. But at first I imagine merging those two was just some work.
Yeah. Yeah. It was really the process of figuring out this sound, and it's still sort of evolving, and I think sometimes folks like oversimplify by saying that it's just like an 80s thing. And I don't really agree with that. I know that I sing in like a baritone voice, and like, there's synths and there's drum machines, but I think that I like to think that it's its own thing. And the more that, when I think of it as an 80s thing, if I try to write and I'm thinking about it, that it's like an 80s thing, it's like, it's nothing good comes from that. You know what I mean? Like trying to just do something original. It's just, and if it sounds like it's from a time period, then it does. But I think the focus just needs to be first and foremost on just like really good sounds that work well together.
And creating Urban Heat, how did it start?
So I was doing the solo thing, and I had some songs that I wanted to play live. And I went to a couple of other musicians and asked them if they would, back me up, because I didn't want to do it alone.
Yeah.
I didn't want to perform alone. I had been performing alone with sequencing a bunch of synths in front of me. I had this whole thing, and I would sing in my headphones so that I could hear the mix. And that was fun. That was cool, and I'll probably do that again at some point. But I wanted to... I think originally I was planning on doing that with a couple of other people doing it too. Yeah. Okay. But once they were involved, it kind of freed me up to be able to just to do other things, and to play guitar, and sometimes just not even play guitar. And that's some of my favorite. I love performing with the guitar. I also love performing with just the microphone. It's a whole different thing, but guitar is really fun too.
As when you guys ever get a chance to check out Urban Heat live, it's a performance, because especially when lighting, it's even better. But you tend to put up, you do more performing, not just singing. When you play the guitar, it's kind of hard to move around, but when you're singing, like you're literally like on top of either, you step on in a what do you call it, in a speaker, and then you're going at it. But you're putting out energy before a show. What is something like that you do to get the energy ready for the performance?
I gotta ground myself and stuff. I used to have a whole routine where like I had my stage costume, and I have to get into my costume and fix my hair, and I had like a scent. There's a certain cologne that I would use. And I was like,
that's where it's at.
When I had the cologne on, then it was like, I was ready to go. And lately though, on the last tour, I kind of got rid of all of that. I used to I always had to take a shower before playing. It was this whole thing. And then touring has just made it, it's just like, so go. And the time that you have to rest is so valuable that I've put much more emphasis on my rest time and being able to get ready for the show a lot faster. because I used to not be able to rest so much because I would need like an hour before, you know what I mean, just to get ready. But we do like a little chant as a band together. We put our hands in and we do 1, 2, 3 heaters. We stole that from Vision Video on the last tour because they do Vision Video and this whole thing. So we were just like, let's just, because, you know, but before the show starts, it can be, in those last couple of minutes, it's really, really hectic.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to like get up there and be like totally collected and like ready to go. But you were just like running around like a chicken with your head cut off like 30 seconds before that, you know? And so it helps just to like, you guys ready? You guys ready? But for the most part, like, and that's the interesting thing with touring too, is like you get so in the practice that like, I mean, I do some stretches, I do some vocal warm-ups, but outside of that, like once the mic's in my hands and like the mic's on, like, let's go.
Yeah.
You know, like I would probably hurt myself because I haven't stretched and I haven't warmed up my voice.
Yeah.
But if the guys just like appeared there right now and like the first note started and somebody tossed me a mic, like I would be able to get up and
well, I have a price for you.
Song.
No, that's something that I've always wanted to ask. Because I help. There's a band that's called Jenny and the Mexicans. The lead singer, she's from England, and then two of the guitar player and the bass player, they're from Mexico, and the percussions, he's from Spain. But they have very Spanish, you know, flamenco mixed with rock, and I reached out to them, and I showed up before the show, and they were just sitting back. One of them was doing the Palo Santo, and then the other one, and they was getting their nails painted. And I was like, so what's y'all's routine? And they're like, oh, this is what we do. Like, we try not to think about the show because you have so many things going on in your head. And also, you know, we just like got done snacking on something. And they were talking about how like here in the US, the snacking is not the best compared to other places. And I was like, interesting. Like, it's completely different over
Something
here.
to look forward to.
Yeah, they're like, everything is cold meats. Over on the other side, it's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. We get a veggie tray. I always get a veggie tray in the back, and then a bottle of Jameson for the guys.
Okay.
And I'm always like the only person who like rocks that veggie tray. But I love my veggie tray.
Nice.
Yeah, just get me that broccoli and some snap peas. Ooh, the veggie tray has some snap peas in it. That's a good one.
So you guys know, you're gonna, do a contract, and the writer has snack peas.
Give me some snap peas. Yep.
I want to, talking about Jameson and sobriety is, how's that journey been for you, especially in an industry where it's in front of you if you want it.
Yeah. I mean, half your job is like to get butts in the door so that the bar can sell them booze,
Yeah.
How's that journey been? It's like the best decision that I've ever made, but I don't think I would be alive if I hadn't. It wasn't even like a decision. It was like, this is how I have to live now. I just don't have a good relationship with substances. And I don't know why that necessarily is psychologically, but that's where we are. The journey is, I don't know. It's something that I don't think about for the most part, and then suddenly I do. Okay. I won't think about alcohol for a long time. Like, it doesn't bother me. People drinking around me, it doesn't. But then occasionally, like sometimes there'll be like I'll be alone, and there'll be a bottle somewhere, and I'll just have this like thought of like, no one would know, and I'm like, damn, I just had that thought. You know what I mean? I like have to check in with myself, and but yeah, it's something that I don't want to be too confident about because it's a struggle, but I think the hardest part is definitely, I hope the hardest part is past me. maybe it isn't though. So that's like why I have to like stay, vigilant, I guess.
That's staying vigilant. It's something that was it. At first it was hard, but now it's easier. As time goes on, but the thoughts are still there. But however, being conscious of like, okay, yes, nobody's seeing, but still, I'm having this thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And then how like say when you're having that thought, what makes you snap out of it and be like, you know what? No.
Um, the time. I'm like, dude, I don't want to start over. I'm
Mm,
almost at 5 years.
okay.
I'm like, you know what I mean? I'm like, I don't want to throw away 5 years. And then I've also like I've been very, public about my sobriety and stuff with our fan base and stuff. And so like if I didn't come clean about like, oh my God, can you imagine? Like if I drank, like I would feel like I was living a lie if I didn't like tell everyone. So then I would have to fucking post about it. Oh Lord, you know what I mean? So like that's all. I'm like, it's honestly like it's the fans, it's my family, it's the time, it's everything. It's funny because my fans are, there's some that have reached out with messages of support and stuff, but like just by being there, they are helping me stay sober because I don't want to let them down.
And your family, you're married. You have how many kids?
2.
Two. How's that? Touring, being a father and husband, and coming back, and you know what? At the end of the day, I'm Jonathan Horstmann here at the house.
Yeah. The entire focus of my life when I'm home, when I'm not on tour, the whole focus of my life is how can I be a better dad? How can I be a better partner and husband? How can I be a better? Because I still consider my wife. I still consider her my girlfriend.
Okay.
We're married on paper, but like we're still like in like a dating, courting kind of thing, and I think that's really important to be in.
The way you're like in the movies, and you kind of like do that.
Yeah,
take your time to put the arm around.
yeah. I think that's really important, and I'm trying. It is not easy. It is not easy to balance those. And it takes some transition when I get back, and I've been getting the artistic validation from hundreds of people every night. Telling me what a great job I'm doing.
Yeah.
But then separating that from like that's artistic validation versus like personal validation, and like what really matters is what the people who are closest to you think about the way that you're treating them, not people who as important as your fan base is, like at the end of the day, they're not going to be at my funeral. I don't know why I said that, but you know what I mean? Like that's it's the way that I leave my kids. That's the way that I'm going to leave this world. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what this band does if my girls have a shitty dad. It is not easy trying to. I don't want my absence because of work to have a negative impact on them. If anything, I want their dad being a touring musician to be a positive thing.
Okay.
How I do that, we're figuring it out every day. I mean, right now it's just, I wake them up in the morning with a song, and whenever I'm with them, I want to be fully present and with them. It's difficult because there's still like when you're not on tour, we're about to start promoting the new album. We have to start promoting the next tour. There's tons of work to do during the day. And I'm trying to be at a point where I can cut that off by the time that they get home from school, so that I can really be with them. We're in the middle of moving to another house in Austin right now, and we've kind of been moving since I got off tour. And so we haven't settled back we haven't really created what the new routine is. Tuesday just started kindergarten. So like that's new. And then now we live in a different part of the city. So like the commute is all different. Yeah. So like, and then we're still moving every day. So hopefully in like 2 weeks, we have some semblance of routine. And then I have a month of that before I'm back on the road. So yeah, I think it's just like a constant flux and just having to constantly be quick on your feet and always having time to pick up that 3-year-old when she wants to be picked up. I don't always pick her up. I'm like, you need to walk. You need to be big, because she's like holding on to being a baby. But the thing is, like, I say that to her now, and then as soon as I leave, as soon as I'm on the road, I'm gonna wish that I had picked her up. I'm gonna wish that I was holding her. So you need to remember that. And yeah.
I mean, I think by you saying that, you're actually, you're a good dad. Like, I'm pretty sure they're gonna appreciate, those small little moments. Picking them up from school, doing, I don't know what do you do to play with them, but saying the fact that you want to give them as a touring musician, you want them to feel positive about it, and not feel like, oh, dad is not here again. Yeah, it's more like, dude, my dad is about to go on tour, and when he comes back, we're gonna go like this place, and we're gonna have this like play date. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's something that, like, say I wanted to go, is just like, I'm pretty sure that helps you stay focused as well. Because you're also thinking about someone else and not just yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I mean, I'm still thinking about myself too. Not myself, it's just like the work that I have to get done. Yeah. And I mean, without my wife, there's no way, she picks up an really unfair amount of the labor, you know what I mean? And if in a perfect world, she would be able to just lounge the whole time that I'm home, and I would just do everything that she was doing while I was on tour. But there's just still so much that has to get done. So we're both just like slammed all day, every day. But we're making it work. We're making it work. Yeah.
Yeah, as long as you make it work, brother, it's all good. Talking about projects, tours, what's next for you, for Urban Heat? What do you guys have planned for the rest of the year? Because I know this year has been busy for y'all.
Yeah. So we got like some big news that we're gonna be dropping soon. I don't think I can say it yet, but there is new music coming. The first single, I guess I can say that. End of October, we'll drop the first single off the new record, and then we'll be releasing singles all the rest of next year until summer, when we'll release the album. We have a big festival in Huntington Beach, Darker Waves, that we're doing in the middle of November, and then doing a headline tour for a month out after that. So I'm home for another week. I have like a weekend fly date. We're doing a festival in Portland, but then we'll be home for like a month, and then back out on the road. So I think the biggest things coming up are the new single and the next tour. So that's how we're going to finish out the year, kind of strong, with like another release and a tour, and then hitting the road again spring of next year. So we'll give ourselves, we'll probably be home for 2 months, and then back on the road.
Man, finish this year strong. That's my motto right there.
Yeah.
I feel like when the way you finish something, that's going to be the start of the new year.
Absolutely. Well, I think we have this thing with like, okay, because like the holidays come up, and like after Halloween, it's just like, okay, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and like everybody kind of like takes time off, and like everybody kind of chills. And I think like that's a great time to like, let's that last little push, that last little,
I'm a firm believer. The reason why I'm saying it is because when I started photography, my last post of 2021 has to be a photo that I took of, whatever. And then from that, 2022 started, and it just got busy. And then last year, I was like, okay, this, 2023, I want to start it with, just having fun. So we got invited to, like, one of our friends had a New Year's event, and we went there. And it was like a lot of people that I'm surrounded with that are part of the Austin FC community. Shout out to all of y'all. And I hang out with them quite a bit, and they've been on my podcast. They're friends of mine, not just when I go to the stadium, but even outside of that. So I think, like you're saying, like, just that last push, that's where it's at.
Yeah.
Because, from then on, the next year should be great. But of course, at the end of the day, it's all up to you.
Yes.
To get it done.
Absolutely is.
But yeah, man, Jonathan, it's been great. I am so happy that we had this conversation. It's literally like a collaboration I've been looking forward to for a while, and I also got a chance to be a little more closer when the South by show happened. And I think Austin FC organized that show, and I was doing some photos, and like taking pictures of you, and like seeing like your performance and your energy, and I'm like, dude, like it's great. But I honestly I appreciate you, and I think your fans also appreciate you. And for me, the best wishes for you, the band, Urban Heat, your family, and I know, it's one of the bands that I'm glad that I caught you when, like as you're growing, because I feel like you're going to be, way, like out there. And then just don't forget about us.
No way, man. No, we'll see. We're all hustling. I think we're all just trying to stay on top of our games and level up, And I think that's the thing with Austin community is like, I think we all, as one of us levels up, like we all level up, we're all bringing each other up. So I feel honored to be here talking to you.
I appreciate it, man. And by the way, before anything, what do you think of Sunday's match against?
Really, we're gonna talk. Oh.
Nah, that's a tough one. It's a tough one.
I know
it's a tough one.
That was tough. Especially, so what happened with that first goal? Why was that taken away?
It's offsides. So the offsides is like you're in front of the last defender.
Yeah.
And Rigoni is the one that he was like a couple of steps,
Is that number 9?
in front. Number 7.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what happened. And but yeah, it's one of those that like our boys need support now more than ever.
Yeah.
So
when's the next match? The next home one, at least.
The next home one is on Sunday. And a little more story is, I don't know if you know Diego Fagundes. He played with us, and he got traded a couple of months ago to LA Galaxy. So they're playing. LA Galaxy is going to be based in Austin with Diego Fagundes against us.
Okay.
And there's a farewell, moment that we gave to him before he left. But it's a lot at stake. They played earlier. I don't know the score. I don't want to look at it. Hopefully we won by the time I listen to this. But well, this episode will be released after the LA Galaxy game.
Okay.
Once we beat them 5-0.
There you go. Exactly.
You know what?
I want to bring my daughter. I think she'd have so much fun.
It would be cool.
That was my first match.
Yeah.
That was my. I've never been to the stadium.
Yeah.
I'm kind of hooked. I want to go back.
When we win, it's better.
Yeah.
When we win, it's better. It's I've been to it when we win, and it's just the energy is it's unforgettable. We've been in not the best form, but we'll get it back.
Yeah,
we'll get it back.
Yeah. Maybe they just need Urban Heat and doing the heartbeat down there. That's what.
Alfredo, hey, you know what? Actually, the Tierra is the one that did the heartbeat. Sophia. So everything started because of an episode that we did here.
Oh, no way.
I was not jokingly, but kind of meaningfully, under the table saying, hey, maybe you guys can do the heartbeat one day. And, we can get it together. And Alfredo, we're listening to this. I get the call from Alfredo, I talked to him. Hey, I listened to the podcast, and we're going to organize a heartbeat with Sophia, and it's going to happen soon. We'll let you know when. Like, just let me know ahead of time.
That's awesome.
So that happened. So, Alfredo, if you're listening to this.
I've been listening to this.
Hey, you know what? I'm sure Jonathan's down. Well, appreciate it for coming. And everyone, don't forget to share, like, subscribe. Se cuidan, se portan bien, y arriba el América.